top, so how you feeling down there? It's a cold, cruel, harsh reality. Caught, stuck here with your enemies. Who do you think you are? Tearing us all apart. Where did you think you could go? 'Cause everyone already knows it's 20 to 1. Yeah, so you better run. You got the world on its knees. You're taking all that you please. You want more, but you get nothing from me. You like the burden we bear. You love the hate that we share. You want more, but you get nothing from me. But enemies, enemies. You started something that you just couldn't stop. You turned the ones that you love into the angriest mob. And the one last wish is that you pay for it. And there's no way you're getting out of this. Who do you think you are? Tearing us all apart. Where did you think you could go? 'Cause everyone already knows it's 20 to 1. Yeah, so you better run. You got the world on its knees. You're taking all that you please. You want more, but you get nothing from me. You like the burden we bear. You love the hate that we share. You want more, but you get nothing from me. But enemies, enemies, enemies. Where did you think you could go? 'Cause everyone already knows it's 20 to 1. Yeah, so you better run. You got the world on its knees. You're taking all that you please. You want more, but you get nothing from me. You like the burden we bear. You love the hate that we share. You want more, but you get nothing from me. You got the world on its knees. You're taking all that you please. You want more, you get nothing from me. You like the burden we bear. You love the hate that we share. You want more, you get nothing from me. But enemies, enemies, enemies.
Welcome to another edition of Slamdown, and today's episode is the Raw review. So I will talk about everything Raw, and also I'm going to comment on a couple of news articles that's come on about the WWE. And also tomorrow we'll be doing the Slamdown review. I knew I was going to do that. The Smackdown review. Because with this new structure, you know, we're going to have TNA Monday, Raw review Tuesday, and Smackdown Wednesday, and then on a Sunday it'll be a normal podcast talking about everything wrestling. And also, depending on their schedule, we'll have a guest on the show, but I'm not going to say names or anything like that because I'll wait till I got the confirmation that they're going to be on, and then I'll announce that on Twitter. For people, any new people watching this podcast, if you want any news and any, like when we're on next or anything like that, you can add us on Twitter at SlamdownPC. And we've also got the website, which is slamdown.co.uk. So let's dig into Raw. Now, for me, I can't believe I want to say this, it wasn't the best Raw. You know, they have had a lot better. To me, it felt quite weak. There were a few good matches, but I don't know. To me, Raw's missing something. I don't know, you know. It might improve when they have the cruiserweights come in and they have the cruiserweight title. It still feels like, because they're a 3-hour show, that they've got to put a lot of what I call filler matches. Matches that are average and just there for no point, but just to make time. I still feel Raw should go back to 2 hours. I've said that for a long time. I think they're overstretching themselves. And also, with the thinness of the roster, I think it would be better to, go back to the 2 hours. Because, at the minute, we've got 3 hours of Raw, 2 hours of SmackDown, and then we have a 4-hour pay-per-view. Now, I think Raw is struggling to fill certain gaps. Well, like I said, with the cruiserweights coming, they might fill that gap, but we'll have to wait and see on that. So, let's dig through this. As we see, Mick Foley addresses the Raw Women's Championship situation. I was quite surprised to see Dana stand up to Charlotte. To me, I was, the match that it led to, I was hoping Dana was going to win because I wanted it to build to something. In wrestling, you've got to have a build-up. You can't do an action and then have a whimper and pull back and then follow Charlotte around. Unless Charlotte's going to make a beg and grovel, but then if Charlotte does that and she attacks Charlotte again, it's just going to be a repeat. I think they really need to look at the way they write certain situations and the outcome. Because to me, it feels like Raw's not being very realistic. That's my point on it. But going from that, they set up the 3-way with Sasha Banks, who I think is a phenomenal athlete, phenomenal wrestler. Same with Bayley. Bayley, another phenomenal wrestler, phenomenal talent. Not too keen on her finisher. I think the belly-to-belly move is used so frequently among other wrestlers that it doesn't have that finish feel. When Sasha Banks hits the bank statement, that game over. With Bayley's, I think they need to look at a new finisher. Have the belly-to-belly as a signature and then have another move, another finisher. But I really do think they need to do that because otherwise, when she hit the belly-to-belly on Charlotte and got the win, I was like, I couldn't believe it. Do you know what I mean? It takes a bit of the realism out of it to me. It's like if you saw Hulk Hogan do a leg drop now, you'd be like, he can't get the victory with that. Everyone does leg drops. Do you know what I mean? They need to give her a special finisher to end her matches on. I thought it was quite sneaky the way they've done it, where Sasha Banks pins Bayley. With the way they've done that, it makes me believe that there's going to be a match later down the line with Sasha Banks and Bayley. So there's potential for a feud to come up there after the pay-per-view. Now, where can I start on Bo Dallas? I think now they have finally found the right gimmick for him. There's a lot of potential with the heel flip. He looks very psychotic. With some of the actions, the way he looked in the ring, his whole attitude, he reminded me, he could have fit into the Riots very easily. With that stern look, he might not look like a Riot, but with the look on his eyes, with his promo delivery. So, I think Bo Dallas, big improvement on the character, and I'm looking forward to see Bo fight again. The highlight reel. I used to like the highlight reel, but now, because I like it when with Jericho and you have sort of the promo battle with the comedy, which seems to be lost. It seems like Jericho's lost the comedy side. You know, it was more about him digging at Sammy and then hitting him with the phone. You know, I want them to add a bit more comedy to Jericho. You know, that's what's missing for me on that. But, you know, if you disagree with me or your points of view, don't forget to put it in the chats. Alicia Fox and versus Nia Jax. We all know Alicia Fox wasn't going to win because the way they've built Nia Jax is like like when they built China. They've built her as this indestructible woman, force to be reckoned with. It's the same the way TNA built Awesome Kong. So, you know, when she put Fox through the barricade, really, it was a good way to sort of end the match with a no contest in that manner to show how fierce Nia Jax is. But the problem for me is, in the long run, if they ever looked for someone to beat her, is how can you do it? You've built her up so high, how can you get her to come down? My favourite tag team, Luke Gallows, Carl Anderson. I absolutely think they are a phenomenal tag team. I loved them in New Japan. I'm loving them in the WWE. I think there's a lot of things they can do. There's a lot of potential. I'm still... trying to think. I think the worst decision they did was split the club up. You know, I was hoping they were going to build a good faction because, you know, the last faction we had with the Shield, I'm not even going to say the League of Nations because that was just a waste. So I think they could have really built AJ Styles, Luke Gallows, Carl Anderson, and they could have added other people into it to make it more like it was the Bullet Club, because people who watched New Japan knew how big the Bullet Club was and how popular it was. So for them to do the club for a few weeks and then split it, I think that's a bad decision on WWE's part. You know, I hope we get to see them come back together at some point, but you know, they could even, you know, if Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson managed to win the Raw Tag Team Champions, I'd love them to see them to go back with AJ Styles and back as a free people faction. You know, with them holding tag team titles and then AJ holding the WWE title, but then there's complications because of the draft, different brands and all that jazz. Now, a match I was quite surprised, and I got the feeling that someone's might be dropped to SmackDown, and that was Jinder Mahal against Jack Swagger. Now, I'm a fan of Jack Swagger. I think he's been used wrongly. You know, it feels like they're trying to make him, well, and they have done in the past, as Kurt Angle too. But, minus that, I can't understand why they've jobbed Jack Swagger again. Because that's all they seem to do with him is they seem to be doing that all the time. And it's quite frustrating to see because you know he's a good athlete, he's a good wrestler. Christ, he's been a world champion. You know, so I can't understand why they keep jobbing him. But with the section when they said about his contract, it gave me an inkling that they're going to not renew his contract for Raw and he'll be moved to SmackDown, or he's going to be released from the company. Now, me personally, I think he should be released because they're not using him right, and I think him going on the indie circuit might be better for him. Now, a primo. The Shining Stars of the Caribbean took on... Gotta do it, can I? You can't Teach that took on Enzo. No, it's Enzo Amore. I hate saying his name. Big Kaz, like I say, it's Enzo Amore. Is quite a bit of a tongue twister for me. But anyway, it was a singles match between them two. I think this is going to lead up to the Shining Stars versus Big Kaz and Enzo Amore at the Clash of Champions. I know I've missed something out, haven't I? With the Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson. They took on the New Day and beat the New Day. And that's going to lead to a match. That was already leading to a match of Clash of Champions where it will be the New Day versus Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson for the Raw Tag Team Championship. Anyway, back to is it Epico and Enzo Amore. As we saw, that when it came to the match, it was a brilliant match, and then right at the end of the match, Premio holds down the foot of Enzo, allowing for Epico to get the win. So a cheap win, which I would have liked to see Enzo win that, because there's been so much push on Big Kaz. It would have been nice to see Enzo get a couple of wins. Main event: WWE Universal Champion Kevin Owens took on Roman Reigns. The stipulation to the match was if Roman Reigns wins, he gets put in the three-way at Clash of Champions with Seth Rollins. Now, Seth Rollins was warned not to interfere in the match, but midway in the match, Kevin Owens was on the ramp and Seth Rollins comes down and attacks him. And then you saw the referees coming out to break it up, and then you saw Mick Foley coming out and telling Seth Rollins, into my office now, and I'm going to have words and all that. Then the match restarted. It was a good match. Kevin Owens did brilliantly. I'm not a fan of Roman Reigns, but it was a good match. And then Rusev attacked Roman Reigns, and then Kevin Owens hit the pull-up powerbomb and got the win. Now, for me, that's with the attack from Rusev. I'm guessing at Clash of Champions they're going to do Rusev versus Roman Reigns for the US title. I think that's going to be the build for that. I do believe. Do you know what? I'll save the Clash of Champions for my predictions. I'm not going to go into too much of that. But for me, Raw wasn't the best it has been. There's I don't know. It just feels like there's no effort in it. We're not going to get wrestling back to the old days. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is the creativity in the writing for the shows seems to be lacking. There's a couple of things. You had Triple H attack, which made Kevin Owens champion, but we haven't seen Triple H since. We still don't know the reason why Triple H did it. Is Triple H on Kevin Owens' side? Is Triple H mad because Stephanie's running Raw and he wants to run it? There has been none of that. They've done something and then they've just left it. Do you know what I mean? It's a bit like when TNA with Decay kidnapped Bram and that's it. It just ended there. We haven't heard nothing since. It's a bit like that. It's a bit, he's come out of nowhere and interfered in that match to put the title on Kevin Owens, but we haven't heard why he done it or anything like that, and that's what we're waiting for. Because they need to do his appearance on Raw, because they can't do him appear at the Clash of Champions. Yes, he has called him. Do you know what? Greg's just made a good point with Kevin Owens called Triple H his mentor. But it didn't really feel like that. It felt like he was saying that just to wind Seth Rollins up. It didn't feel, because there's been times where he said, "Oh, Triple H," or "No, Triple H," and stuff like this. So it's really this is another problem I've found. It's very confusing writing, because they say one thing and then they change it and say another, and it's It's like, right, okay, where you going with that? They do it quite often, and I've noticed it quite a lot. You know, it's... I think in most wrestling now, writing has been really bad. You know, Smackdown has been pretty good. Can't fault any loopholes in that yet. But with Raw, it's... The women's bit was brilliant. Bo's match was good, and his promo was brilliant. But, you know, like the whole Jack Swagger thing, the... Also, I've just realised I've missed something as well, and that's the Sheamus and Cesaro Best of 7 series. What I'm going to call the sleep match. I don't know why they've done a Best of 7 series, because Jesus Christ. You know, I got sick of it when they were doing the same 3 matches in a row. Now they're doing a 7 series, like, Jesus Christ. It's the whole, like, when AJ Styles versus Chris Jericho. AJ Styles versus Chris Jericho again? Oh, guess what? AJ Styles versus Chris Jericho again. And now they're doing the Best of 7 series with Cesaro and Sheamus. Sheamus is a brilliant wrestler, and so is Cesaro. And for me, repeated matches for a whole 7... I see it pointless. I see it pointless. You know, yes, they're making it about the wrestling, but Best of 3 series, I'm fine with that. But Best of 7? Really? Because we know the end match is going to happen at Clash of Champions already, because it's 3-2. Next week, Cesaro will get another win, making it 3-3 and making the final match at Clash of Champions. Now, it seems, even though the roster's quite thin, it seems like they don't know what to do with people. You know, I think they need that figurehead in the back that works with the writers and say, right, this needs to be better. We need to do this better. You know, the only decent... Well, I won't say decent, because Raw is good, but could do a lot better. Same as SmackDown. NXT, to me, is the best show on the WWE. The matches are brilliant. The way it's written is brilliant. It worries me for when Samoa Joe comes to the main roster. You know, is what they do with him. Because me personally, if Samoa Joe was going to come up, I wouldn't have him on Raw. I'd have him on SmackDown. Because then I'll put AJ Styles versus Samoa Joe, because you know them two can bring it. They can bring their match to the top level. But I'm trying to think. I can't actually remember when the Cruiserweights come into Raw. If anybody knows, can you put it in the chat? Because I can't think when they're... I don't know if it's next week or if it's later on, because I know the grand finals tonight on the WWE Network at $9.99. I had to do a Michael Cole reference then. Next week, right, okay. Another quick thing I want to quickly mention is about the WWE. I think I've covered everything on Raw, but a couple of interesting things. There's been new lawsuits against the WWE for royalties. Alright. They said they're 99% sure. They should have said they're 99.9% sure, just like the price of the WWE Network. Yeah. Raven has joined in for suing for royalties, as well as Buff Bagwell. I think that's going to get a lot more as well. With the amount of content on there, you know, wrestlers are feeling, you know, you're showing us so much on the network, you know, we should be paid for this. Which I sort of agree with and I sort of don't agree with. It's sort of mixed for me. It's I think if you're showing archive footage, if you paid wrestlers royalty every time it's shown, it's a bit tricky because it's on demand. You click what you want to watch and stuff like that. And something needs to be done because, you know, I don't know if it's payment, or because there's a lot of superstars they have on there, and if they paid every one of them royalties, the network wouldn't make any money. Another thing that I'm going to sort out, because I am sick to death of this rumour. I've covered it before and I'm covering it again. Paige is not hired a lawyer. Paige is not leaving the WWE. It's not happening. You know, a friend of Ricky Knight's has already said she's not leaving. I can't understand why, because of Alberto Del Rio leaving, that people have put Paige in like she's taking the same route. You know, Alberto Del Rio said he was leaving because he wasn't happy with the way he was being booked and his treatment. You know, when he failed the wellness policy, he says he was taking tablets prescribed by his doctor and was unhappy with all of that and decided to be released. Paige hasn't said anything. Remember that as well. You know, and she's not being released. You know, if she was going to be released, she should have been released by now. Because at the end of the day, the WWE wouldn't have wanted a messy lawsuit. They would have released her, but, well, it's the WWE cross. But anyway, the rumour is not true. Paige is not going anywhere. She's just off TV for the minute because of the wellness policy. Once that's over, she'll be back on television. Can't remember if she's drafted to Raw or SmackDown, but she'll be back. Okay? So, do not believe everything you read on these internet websites. You know, don't believe anything you read from Dave Meltzer either. He talks more crap than anybody. He'll turn around and tell you Ultimate Warrior's joining TNA, even though he's dead. That's what he's like. He over-exaggerates, he makes up false rumours, because even TNA have complained about him. Another thing that might interest you, I know it's a bit TNA, but it's also about the WWE as well, about the riots, when they did the riots compound. Jeremy Borash has confirmed that the WWE did steal that idea from TNA, because he said he can't release what source or who told him. Someone did tell him that the WWE stole it, and it's obviously someone that works for the WWE, because otherwise he would have said it. So it's someone who he can't say because he's fearing they get the backlash and get fired from WWE. So it's true, they did copy TNA on that. But I think that's about it for this Raw review. I am looking forward to the Cruiserweights coming. I shouldn't be... Yes, I'm going to say it. I think Noam Dar has signed a WWE contract because he did his last show at ICW saying goodbye to the fans. And normally when a wrestler's do it, saying a goodbye like he is, it means he's going to the WWE or NXT because of the way it was done. Because he started at ICW. People who don't know what ICW is, it's Insane Championship Wrestling, a wrestling federation based in Scotland. It's where Grado's come from. Drew Galloway's been there. Well, I think he's still there as well, and loads of others. It's a big wrestling company. So yeah, with Noam Dar doing that, and it was on his Facebook as well, saying about how sad he is that he's leaving. I reckon he's been signed to Raw for the cruiserweight division. I reckon TJ Perkins will be signed as well because he's a free agent anyway. But it looks like from what I've seen, Noam Dar has signed. I will keep looking and checking Twitters and Facebooks to see if there's any news on anybody else that signed, or if anybody's done a tribute match like Noam Dar did, to see if they're on their way to the WWE. But this has been the Raw review, live on Slamdown. Tomorrow will be SmackDown review, because what I do now is I watch SmackDown, write some notes, and then come on here. Same time again tomorrow, 9 p.m. GMT. For anybody that's not watching in the UK, it's GMT time. So I want to say a big thank you to all our listeners that have watched this. Thanks to everybody on the chat, and also if you're watching this on YouTube and it's already been put up, you can comment on the videos, and I do check comments on any videos, and I do reply, you know, because the whole point of this podcast is we are about the fans. You know, we have no corporation, we have no wrestling company that pays us, we are non-profit, and it's for the fans. This is why we do this. I am working on the facility to have call-ins. I'm looking at other stuff. I can do it through Skype, but I need to set up a new Skype account so then I can put that as public and people can call in that way. So I am looking at doing things like that. And also I will say, check out Feed Me Frankenstein, a podcast which is run by Greg and Sir Ian as well. Good podcast to check out. They have their shows on iTunes, so don't forget to check them out. But this has been Slamdown. I want to say a big thanks to everybody that's listened and watched this show. Yeah, I'm going to end it out with the Raw theme, so I'll see you all tomorrow.
There's not a moment to spare. It's quite a drop from the top. So how you feeling down there? It's a cold, cruel, harsh reality. Caught, stuck here with your enemies. Who do you think you are? Tearing us all apart. Where did you think you could go? 'Cause everyone already knows it's 20 to 1. Yes, so you better run. You got the world on its knees. You're taking all that you please. You want more, but you get nothing from me. You like the burden we bear. You love the hate that we share. You want more, but you get nothing from me. But enemies, enemies. You started something that you just couldn't stop. You turned the ones that you love into the angriest mob. And the one last wish is that you pay for it, and there's no way you